We're live.
Here we go. We are. It's just Zoom's doing the stream. It's always about 20 seconds delay.
Yes.
So we should be there.
It says that we're live on my end.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. So welcome, Carl, to Mic Drops Up Close. I may as well do the mic drop. Boom. Not quite a drop, that. But mate, it's brilliant to have you on the show. And we're talking about something that actually is really close to me, mainly because I've actually struggled a lot in life with this this book that you wrote. Not struggled with your book, but struggled with what your book's talking about. And it's a really fantastic book. I mean, I think when you released it, I was one of the first to actually to buy it, because we've met at a mentorship place where we met together, and literally when we got on quite well as friends, and I heard your story and your backstory and where you've come from and what you've done, and the success of your book and how many people have actually had so much results from you, and literally I had to get your book, and it was bloody brilliant. It was bloody brilliant. I mean, I am bambling because quite frankly, it was an awesome book. I'm not gonna lie. So your book is called Making Shit Happen. And could you give us a little bit of a breakdown, a background of yourself? I know you used to work for you're a CFO for $150 million clothing company, was it, or manufacturer? And you've done a lot in personal development, because you've been we spoke a while back. I've been in the BBC, and even though I wasn't there that long, I was there only a few years, it was literally, I felt institutionalized in that short period of time. And yet there's people that have been in businesses of that, these large businesses, and they've been there for a long, long time. And we spoke, the first thing we spoke about was that. I remember it clearly. It's the first thing we spoke about, how you could get institutionalized and how it's hard to get out. And your book was kind of helps people with that, doesn't it? Could you just explain to everyone, firstly, who you are, and then we'll go on to your book?
Right, cool. Yeah, of course. So my background, this is my second career. So writing the book and doing all of this stuff around productivity and the undercover entrepreneur stuff, which we'll come on to later, is a second career. So my first career was in finance. So I was an accountant. I qualified with KPMG, so a Big Four company. And then after 5 years, I went into the clothing business. And it was a business that in the first few years, I was just traveling. I was just traveling all over the place, and it was fantastic because I was single. I got no responsibilities. I'd just get on a plane and go somewhere for 3 weeks. I traveled to about 20 different countries in a couple of years. So it was really good. And then the business, but the business that we were in, the clothing business, was kind of on its knees. It was a difficult business. And so the owners decided they were going to sell it. And so we did a management buyout of that business. And bearing in mind that the business was about a 240 million turnover business in the first year, in the year that we bought it.
Yeah.
And it was losing 65 million pounds. So it lost 65 million pounds and had 240 million turnover. In the 5 years prior to us getting hold of it, it had lost 166 million pounds. So a hugely difficult business.
Yeah.
We got about 6,000 people in the UK, and we got a couple of factories that we just started building. And so the business that we're in, they decided to sell, and so we did this as managed buyout. So it was like a basket case sale, one of these pound deals. And then we spent 3 years turning it around. So we took it from being 240 losing 65 to 85 million, making a couple of million in 3 years. Wow. And I found personally, all the time we'd done it, we did that 3 times in that organization. Every time it took us 3 years to turn the businesses around. And I'm sure you can do it faster, but that was our experience. And that was a fantastic time because it was all learning, because we've been in a massive PLC organization that did loads of stuff for us. And then we got the business, and it was our business, and we got all the responsibility. The bank walked away from us. So with HSBC, they said they weren't interested. We ended up with HSBC later, but they walked away from us. we had no business plan because the deal was something that was just brought to us about 2 weeks before we had to buy it. The holding company came to us and said, you've got to take this on, all of it, with all of the crap and everything. But they give us a bit of support for a short period of time, but we got to take everything. And so, because they lost the deal, there was a deal that they'd announced to the press, and then they walked away, and so they had to get something done. So we came in, and Creighton Shaw's, even the customer, and we were mainly an M&S customer, even the customer just said, who are you now? Because we were a small owner-managed business then.
Yeah.
So it was a massively challenging period, but it was so exciting because it was all ours, and it was our responsibility. And we were manufactured in Cambodia and Sri Lanka at the time, and it was just super. And so we did that, and then 12 years after we bought it, a Japanese conglomerate came to us and asked us if we would sell. So we weren't looking to sell, and we ended up selling for multiple 8 figures. So I can't say exact numbers, but so we went from £1 to multiple 8-figure sale in 12 years. So it's not an overnight thing. None of that.
3 years is pretty much overnight in business.
Well, maybe, yeah. But people want these instant wins. And my experience has always been, and that's part of what the book's about, that they don't come instantly. Your overnight success takes a long time to actually get together.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my background, CFO for 16 years out of my 27 years, so nearly 3 decades in there. And you're right, so it was kind of an institutionalized feeling. And I loved my work for 23 years, up to the point that we sold it. I absolutely loved it. Now, part of that, I had not seen myself as an entrepreneur, although the business was ours. Because I was still going into the office, I was still doing office hours, I was still doing vacations. It was still kind of a sort of employee type mentality until I came out about 3 years ago and did my own thing, which was focusing on the personal development, which for me was always about productivity. It was all about what you're going to get done.
Yeah.
And so I studied that alongside that other job. I studied all my personal development. I built my software, daily life tracker. I had studied loads of stuff. I still got all the notes up in this cupboard up here. And that's where the book came from. So it was just studying all this stuff so much and implementing it, of course, inside of that business and then inside of my new business.
And your book does talk about, it's like 30 years or more of consolidation of all this learning and the practical sort of like lessons you've learned, just implemented into, I mean, there's 5 pillars, isn't there? Because I remember doing the graphic for you. I was helping you out with a graphic initially. And there's 5 pillars, and they really resonated with me. And I could actually really connect to what you're bringing together in this book. It's really quite revolutionary. I mean, if anybody hasn't got the book, we'll drop the link in the comments. It's a really great book. I genuinely mean that. It's not just because I've met Cole, and it really is a really great book. And I love the name anyway, Making Shit Happen. Come on, it's pretty much spot on, isn't it? But yeah, the 5 pillars are spot on. You've really, really made it clear as day in there, and it really is great. And you created software, didn't you? Explain to people about the software, because that's pretty unique as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The software is unique. So the software is all about tracking, and it's all about, because if you want to change something, you need to start tracking it. So it's the first thing that you need to do is to start tracking the things that for any change. If you want to change, you need to understand what's going in the first place and what you're doing. Same with your finance. You need to understand what's coming in and out. So the tracking process is really important. And I was being coached by one of Tony Robbins' coaches. And I was going away on these UPWs. UPWs on today, isn't it? It's the last day.
Yeah. I was told by a friend that I should really, I need to go there. Go there. Yeah.
Have you never been?
I've never been. Gordon said it. Gordon Bertram, a good friend of ours, he said I should go there. I mean, I've had a bit of a, without getting too personal, a bit of a low week, with like a lot of friends, two good friends passed away, and there was a lot of like sadness with my daughter's a condition my daughter's got, like some not great news with that. And so I was like, I just wish I could rewire my thinking, you know what I mean? And my friend Gordon, Gordon, he said you should have gone to UPW, and it's just hard to just get those days in a row out, and do that stuff. But next year it's going to be in Birmingham, so I'll be trying my best to go there.
Yeah. So I mean, Tony's stuff is phenomenal. I've been there and done all of his stuff. So I did UPW about 6 times. I've done Mastery University a couple of times. I've done his leaders.
Wow, you're a real, real blooming fan then, aren't you? I mean, everyone says it's brilliant. Tony Robbins is amazing. He is world class, literally. But for me, I've always, every mentorship and everything I've learned in my life, there's always been some sort of like something taken from Tony Robbins, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's had something from Tony Robbins, and he's probably got it from some other people as well. Tony Robbins,
Jim Rohn and
Jim Rohn, all those, definitely. And that's what's nice. That's what's nice. I mean, this people make it their own, and and you learn from it. And we all do that, even if we don't realize we're doing it. That aha moment sometimes is actually regurgitated quite a few times through other people.
Sometimes it is. I think it's kind of stemmed from Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill, I think, didn't it, back in
Great book.
Yeah.
When I went through my training in property, that was the main book, and it was, life-changing book. Although the audio version was quite dull at first, but you get used to it after a while. But yeah, really great book. Definitely, there's no knocking that.
And I think that's where a lot of Tony's principles came from as well. So
yeah, definitely. But you've done a similar thing though, haven't you? Because like, if you think about it, you've done it in your work history and what you've learned, and and like we said, consolidated it. But I presume you probably got that from mentorship and past things that you've actually gone through as well, not just your work, probably personal as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people, when they pull these things together and when they start teaching stuff and when they start writing books, it's never entirely just like ground from the ground creation. It all comes from all of the references that you've had and all of the teachers that you've worked with and the people that you've worked with and your own experiences of doing things. All of those things kind of pull together. And that's what was happening in my book, that I created these 5 pillars based upon all of that learning and all of that studying. And I mentioned Tony in there a couple of times, and there's lots of things that are coming from different places, and it's just about you taking your knowledge and your take on something, and the way I might say it might just resonate with someone else where it doesn't resonate the way that someone else says it. And that's, I think, the real beauty of this stuff, that it's, for me, it was consolidating these things into the 5 categories, the 5 pillars that actually meant that, so I created the structure around the word habit. So that was habit, so it spells out the word habit, so it's HABIT, habit, alignment, balance, integration, tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And that, sorry, it's okay if I just go into the pillars just for a second?
No, you definitely go through it, because it's a great book, and I want people to hear this, definitely.
So the first 3 pillars are all about working on you. It's all about the personal stuff. So the habit side is about how you actually create good habits, how you get rid of bad habits. What are the techniques? We talk about the 5 W's of transformation. What is the habit chain? What is that? Because it's not just, a habit. You don't just do a habit. There's a process to it that your brain goes through. And so we go through all of that. And then we look at alignment, which is essentially personal development. So it's all about the stuff inside of you. So it's what motivates you, motivation, procrastination. It's about standards. It's about taking action. It's about energy. It's about personal development. It's about tempo and the speed that you do things. All of those things that are all about you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 3rd pillar is balance. So appropriately, it sits right in the middle of the pillars, the balance pillar, because it's not all about the do, which might be what people think when they see a book called Making Shit Happen.
Yeah.
It's all about the doing, but it isn't. You've got to get a balance, and it's not just a work-life balance. It's not just you're one or the other, you're on or you're off. It's more like an ocean. It's more like things bubbling on an ocean. So you've got all of the different areas of your life, and it's your health, finance, relationships, emotions, personal development, life management, all of those things. Because if you imagine those on a lake or on the ocean, when one of them moves, the others are going to go with it. Nothing's ever independent. It's more of an integration than it is a balance. And whenever we're looking for balance, we're never going to get it. You need to be striving for it all the time, but you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
Because it's it's one of those elusive things that's a great goal to have, but realize that it's never going to happen.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, because like, again, I'm thinking of it in a different angle because of when you said the ocean. I promote and teach a thing called wave marketing that no one really does, that I know of, and it's basically, there's always this push that you got to go out, be on everything, be on Instagram, be on Facebook, be on everything, and it's just like, yes, that can get you out there and get seen and so on, but I actually think there's a lot more to be said about coming in with consistency, like a wave, at different levels and different types of waves, and I think there's a lot of that to keep people, firstly, consistent, which is what your book talks about a lot. Because if you're all out there, bang, 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 hard, no one ends up doing it, or they do it for a short period of time and then crash.
Yeah.
And the main thing is you're consistent, but not consistently hard, if that makes sense. At the same level, the same height of waves and intensity. And so what you're talking about makes a lot of sense in a different way. But what I really like about your book is you really do sort of like help embrace the concept of consistency, because sometimes it's just a word, isn't it? This stuff's always there, and we get brought up throughout our life experiences, and consistency is just a word, but actually what's the meaning? Just deconstructing that. How can you be consistent? And the support pillars that help you become consistent are really important. I found recently, when I did a massive weight loss and I crashed and burned, that I had consistency and I thought I had it nailed, but then it didn't make it a habit, which is why I'm reading your book again, and why actually I shoot a message to you and said, hey, fancy coming on live? Because I wanted this extra. This is more selfish. This calls selfish me. It's me wanting to connect with you because we've been saying we should for a while. But it's a really great book, and I'm going to go on your life tracker again and do all that stuff. At the time, actually, I went through it, and it's a brilliant book, but I actually had a lot of other stuff going on, health issues you might have known of. But literally, I genuinely, to anyone here, we talk of all the big guys, Tim Ferriss and, the Tony Robbins and all this kind of thing. Check out Pate. Honestly, really great guy, really great book. And I really recommend it. It's only what, £4 or something like that off Amazon at the minute. Ridiculously cheap, ridiculous great value. You got the tracker as well. So guys, seriously, this is not I'm not pitching and plugging for a call at all. I genuinely mean it's a really great book, and people that know me know I'm a man of authenticity. But yeah, so could you tell us a little bit more? So you got these 5 pillars.
I haven't done through the last 2 pillars. So the last 2 pillars, okay, cool. The 4th pillar is integration, which is all about actually building the stuff into your life, starting to actually take the strategies, the techniques, the tricks, and actually building them in. So about planning and goal setting, and how you're going to actually, what tools you're going to use, how you get around distraction management, which is essentially what time management is all about. It's about managing your distractions. And then the 5th pillar, is tracking, which is what we started talking about with the daily life tracker, because you've got to start to measure and monitor. What gets measured gets done. What doesn't get measured gets missed. And that's so we have the first 3 pillars, which work on the individual, the 4th pillar, which works on the actual strategies, and then the 5th pillar, which builds it all into your life, so you don't have to keep going back to other time management programs because you got it built in. And particularly if you get hold of the software as well, then that's all designed specifically to make sure that you are building it in. And as you say, Michael, the consistency is the umbrella over everything. Consistency is probably, whilst I've got the book, whenever I'm doing talks at the moment, consistency is probably the topic that I talk most about, because it's just so important. For me, it is the difference between success and failure, because people get into all sorts of different things. They dabble in this and they dabble in that, and they just don't get down and follow it through to its conclusion. And sometimes you've got to be able to twist and turn and be a little bit flexible with where you're going, but you've got to keep going. And when you don't, that's when things stop, and that's when you get your problems, and when people give up. And so the consistency is huge, and
I was going to say, that's pretty much like T. Harv Eker. You know, how you do anything is how you do everything, and that's pretty much that's it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
consistency.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Joel Barker talks about action and vision. So action without vision is just passing the time. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action with vision will change your life. And for me, consistency is that bridge between action and vision, because, you know, we can take action, but it's not going to get us towards our vision unless we're actually consistent in what we're doing and how we actually take it forward. And it's just, it is just so important that, I mean, I just can't stress the idea of consistency enough. But most people see it as kind of a sort of stifling thing, something that they don't want to do because it sounds boring. It sounds like it's not something that they really want. How can I be creative if I'm being consistent? The point is that if you become consistent over certain things, then those are taken care of. For example, I am now, what was it, 1,780 days without missing a day of exercise. So nearly 5 years,
Wow.
I've not missed a day. Now, the important thing for that isn't that I've not missed a day for 5 years, but it's that I don't have to think about it. I don't get up and question whether I'm going to exercise or not, because I have to.
Right.
These calls now, Facebook live streams and doing speaking stuff every day. I've done that now for 280 days. So I started off at the beginning of our holiday and back in July last year, and I've not missed a day on that. I don't do that on everything, but, you know, certain things that I know if I don't do the consecutive days, I'm going to let them drop once in a while.
Yeah.
Then I'll build them in. Tony
You're
Robbins.
very committed, though. You got. I mean, there is a sense of willpower there as well, isn't there? Or do you think willpower is something that you create? You know, I mean, is this, you know, because it's that get up and go. I know there's that. I forget who came up with the concept. You know, the 5-second concept. If you don't get up within 5 seconds, you know, you won't get up. You know.
Yeah, Mel Robbins, I think, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, just that starting part is pretty damn tricky, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's quite hard.
It is, but it's building the habit, as you said before, Michael. It's about building the habit. If you, the most difficult part of all of these runs is that first week. I remember day 7 when I was doing the speaking was the most difficult day because I didn't want to do it. I was away on holiday. I didn't want to do it. And I forced myself to do it because I was only 7 days in, but that was the most difficult. It's not difficult at 260 days because you built the habit.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, actually. Yeah, definitely. And it's like me, I'm doing this podcast, mic drops, and, you know, I think you're like my 8th or 9th guest.
Got some great ones on there as well, haven't you?
We've had, yeah, I mean, it started with a real good guest list. I mean, literally, we've had like top marketers in the world, and yeah, we've got some really great ones to come as well. We've got Jay Dillian tomorrow, great business guy, done really well in his life, with won awards with Princess Trust and so on. So that he's coming on tomorrow. Got quite a few. We've got Matt Elwell at some point. Quite a few people to come. But today we got the amazing Carl Pate. And I want to get up a little bit close because it is called Mic Drops Up Close. And I want to get a few questions, like, because you had a moment, I remember you telling me, and it resonated, where you kind of like, you had enough. And there was a either a aha moment or a moment of like, it could have been a moment of despair, but where you just realized you had to have a change, something had to change. You know, like you say, you've done 2 careers and so on. You've probably done way more than that in reality. But there was a moment that just made you just turn and go, right, that's it, I'm doing this. And it's great risk, as you know. I mean, a lot of us, I had my moment was when my son was made disabled. And yours, from what I originally remember, was about, you know, the whole institutionalized side of work, and the fact that you knew that people at a certain age struggled to start again whilst they're been in that environment.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, could you elaborate on that so people can?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You'd explain it better than me.
Yeah. Well, I was coming up to my 50th birthday, really. So I was 47. I was 50 last year, so I would have been 47, coming up to 48. And I'd been working, like I said, I've been working in finance for 27 years, 3 decades, loving it for a long time. And then the problem is that when things don't, when you're not getting the same results, not results is the wrong word, when you're not getting the same satisfaction out of your job, you don't realize it. You don't realize it, and you start going through the motions. So the story now, and I realize I can see it very clearly now. But 2 years, I was just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And it was just going in and doing it, and there was no excitement to it.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 years was actually hating it. So whilst there probably was a moment, it was over a bloody 4-year period. And 4 years is a long time not to be enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
no,
but the issue for most people is that they're going through that, but they don't know that they're going through it.
It's become a habit, hasn't it? It's become second nature to them and even that I mean, I did a post that was quite personal today, and it was I have felt like a loss of mojo, you know. My big why is there, everything's still there, but I felt like the one thing I do enjoy that I'm slowly, I think, you know, want to improve on and get better and so on. I actually enjoy the mic drops because I am all about network, and you know, I'm not always you know, I love marketing and lead generation. That's my passion. But property, as you know, was an area that I'm in. That's more of a vehicle for me. You know, I'm not going to pretend to be, you know, even though I've done well and people want, you know, I've been featured in some magazines and podcasts and so on. And I've been asked to feature in another big one in July. The reality is it's a vehicle, and I'm not going to lie about it. I never wanted to have, you know, I never, believe it or not, and people, I could see it in their eyes when I said right at the beginning of my journey, I don't want to be these big hot shots with like hundreds of properties, and I don't want to be that. I really genuinely don't want to be that. You know, it's not me. It's not me. It's not what I want. And you know, I found my passion in lead generation. I create chatbots and, you know, Facebook funnels, you know, landing pages and regular website funnels and so on. And that's my passion. I kind of enjoy that geekiness about it. It's a bit weird, but I kind of enjoy it. And the network. But I'll be honest with you, there has come a point where I'm feeling like, oh, you know, that big, I needed something different. The podcast has definitely helped there, because it's a lonely space in business when you're behind a computer. And I wanted to ask you a specific question about that, because social media is practically my life with my business now. And, you know, and most of us, even you doing lives every day and all this kind of thing. How does that fit in with productivity and, you know, what you teach? Because it's very hard to be consistent at doing your job, doing the network that you need to do, and the whole noise that you get from social media. It doesn't have to be Facebook, it can be LinkedIn. All of them are guilty of taking your attention away. So how would you approach that?
I mean, it is a distraction management issue, isn't it? Because all of the social media is very much a distraction. But it's also, because I was never very big on social media until I started doing my own business in productivity and came out of the corporate world. So I was never very big on it at all. It never appealed to me. It's now kind of a necessary thing. And I like it, I enjoy it. But there is a real danger when you get on there of getting drawn into those posts and just like the scrolling through, and then you see things, and particularly when it's people that you know. So I mean, there's a danger of, like, you know, the bloody cat videos and that sort of classic cliche. But the real danger, I think, is in people that you know doing things. So like this live stream now. For some people, will be a distraction from what they want to do, because they want to watch what you're doing. And it's those things that are as big a challenge as anything. It's sometimes the social media distractions, those are obvious. The phone, so switch off your phone, switch off your, I know I've had this bloody thing beeping at me because I forgot to switch Facebook off.
I tried to switch the notifications off, and it just, as far as, you know, it just won't go off at all. You know, I've tried everything, and when, you know, it's just one of those things.
There's always something, isn't there? There's always a way for it to come through, and that's the problem, because it keeps on beeping at you and it keeps on distracting you. And
like, watch me, check me. It's bloody annoying.
Well, those are the obvious distractions, and you can do something about those. You can switch those off. The ones that are more challenging, I think, are the ones that are that look, the exciting things and the good causes and exciting opportunities, that those are still distractions away from the work that you want to do, but they come disguised as something that you really ought to be doing.
Yes.
And so you've got to switch those things off. You've got to switch your mind. You've got to learn to say no. I think I did a Facebook Live on this a couple of days ago. You've got to learn to say no, because for every time you say yes to something that comes to you, you say no to something else. And the problem is that when you say no to something else, it generally doesn't involve you letting somebody else down, because that's who you are. You're saying yes because you want to help. And so you carry on doing those things, and the thing that ends up falling down are the important things to you. So the things like your health and your relationships and your family stuff, those are the things that suffer when you keep on saying yes, because every time you say yes, you've got to say no to something else, because your life's just so full.
Yeah, it's spot
so
on.
we've got to get away from that, and we've got to get away from all of this and try to put those distractions to the side, and just focusing for certain periods of time is a really brilliant way of doing it. So you just say, right, 90 minutes, I'm switching everything off, doors closed, get my head down. 90 minutes, we can all do 90 minutes.
Yeah. Do you do any sort of like rituals, or what's the I forget, Podemol, with
the Pomodoro.
I knew I said it wrong. Where you have that break and it's a consistent break, and then you go back into it. Have you ever tried any of that stuff?
I tend not to do that. No, I mean, I'll use timers. So everybody's got a timer on the phone now, haven't they? So use timers for certain periods. So 15 minutes is brilliant, because it's a period that you can get things started in. It's 1% of your day, which is, I love 15 minutes. It's 1% of your day.
Yeah,
it's 15 minutes approximately.
Yeah.
And it's the way of getting yourself moving. You haven't got to, anybody can find 15 minutes, just to open something up and start to create a document, start to do something with it. And so I love that. And then 30 minutes, is just a little bit of an extension on that. The 90-minute one is the one where you can really get down and actually get some stuff done. And, if you can put 2 or 3 90-minute programs together, then you get something. I mean, I wrote this book in 90-minute blocks. That's kind of how you can get yourself focused.
Yeah, I'm just replying back to a few people here. For people listening in, because this is going to go on Mike Drops podcast, we do uncut video interviews where we extract the live video and audio, and we put it into a podcast. So you're getting literally as it was, with an intro in front of it, obviously, and an outro. But yeah, that's really great information, mate. I mean, for me personally, I struggle to get that very first kind of like, almost like self-sabotage, right at the beginning. And I did something very different when I did the weight loss challenge, and my addictions, and I will call them that because they were definitely that for years. It got really bad after my son was made disabled because of depression and so on. But I just the short highs of sugary stuff and that kind of thing. But I did something very different. Where I'd normally try a diet and it would screw up, I actually put all my favorite crappy foods at the side of my bed. So I had like a packet of Pringles, I had a packet of Haribo, I had a fizzy drink at the side of my bed, and I went for the challenge, almost like looking at the devil in the face and saying, fuck you. I'm gonna have to put censored on this. And it was hard the first week, but then it got really easy, and I lost 2 stone in 6 weeks, which is brilliant. And then the challenge ended and I came second, and I was really excited. And then everyone started showing pictures of pizzas and they're eating it, they finished it. And I could say literally 99.999% of the people on the challenge were already, as far as I'm concerned, in my eyes, skinny. Right, I was the only person that had gravity flab hanging down, literally, and and a lot of people, they might have had a bit of puppy fat. In my eyes, I call it puppy fat. But I knew if I slipped, I would screw up. And literally, I said, no, I'm not going to screw up. This is a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. I went on another week whilst everyone was eating crap, and then they started another challenge. And then I just had one slip up when I went away to a networking event, and I was at the hotel, and that was it. And I made these excuses in my head. Well, other people have done it. Well, they've done it, and I'm going to get back on it. There's a couple of months still on the new challenge, and literally, I'd say probably at least 7 weeks wasted, and I'm still struggling to get back on it. That's how the mind can really screw you up. And yet I don't know how I can't get out of that scratch record, you know.
Those challenges. Trouble with those sort of challenges, for me at least, is that they are isolated and they can be very intense, you know, because I think it was called something like Nutters, wasn't it, or whatever.
Yeah, fitness Nutters. It's good. It's really good. It was good.
Yeah. And they're great for getting you going, but then it comes to this bit like Tony Robbins thing, you know, 4 days that everyone's going crazy and everyone's going to change the world. You know, if everyone who was in that room, all 12,000 people, did the stuff that they said they're going to do, the world would be a bloody different place by then.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah.
But they're not doing it, and they're not doing it because they haven't got a system. And this is where my software really comes in, and where we should have a chat about this, because when you get onto one of those challenges, you're doing it for that period of time, and you know that there's an end to it. And so you can, it is more of a willpower thing than anything else, because you've been challenged by those other people. And it's great because it gets you going. And it's the same as the Tony Robbins stuff. You know, it's great because it gets you going, but then you come back. And that's why I created the software, because I was at Tony Robbins' course. And I went to one of his coaches and said, look, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to crash back down to earth in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm not going to even remember anything that I've done. And she just said, what you need to do is just take a couple of things at all the different areas of your life, check them off, put it on your fridge, like drinking 8 glasses of water, whatever it is, and running for 45 minutes, and tick them off every day. And that was what created the software. And I'm still doing things now that I started 15, 20 years ago when I started with Tony Robbins stuff. Not for any other reason than I've got a bloody system to help me to do it. Yeah. Sometimes you'll fall off the wagon, but then you've got to know how to get back on it. Yeah. Straight away, instantly.
Systems are key, and it's quite crazy how we think, and you can do it in your head, but you can't scale and you can't keep things. Our brains are wired to literally to be curious. We're born curious, so that curiosity is what helps with distractions. You know, I could be really into something on my project. I was building out a massive chatbot for someone, a top property client, right? A huge lead generation to entice people in and keep them, the whole B's and E's, B's and E's. I can't even talk. But I literally, something popped up, and it was a bloody Facebook thing, and it pops up even when you're not even got it open, doesn't it? You get like a notification, and literally I just started reading it, and my flow was gone. That was it. It was ironic because I'm building flows. They're called flows, and my flow had gone literally in an instant, and that's the danger of it. So like I said, that's why I started rereading your book, because your book was really, really good. And it was really good, even though I wasn't consuming it as fully as I should have, because I was going through a bit of a period at that time as well, with my health. But the reality is like, the software stuff as well all makes a lot of sense, and combining it together, I can see how it works. And if you think about, like, if you sent, you had a team of people in a business, or you had a VA, the key to success with any of this stuff is processes. Yeah. And yet that's what we're doing for ourselves. We're just setting up processes through systems, aren't we, realistically? Yeah. But we don't do it. No, like, you're right, it's spot on. I don't do it still. I do bits because I do a lot of automation for people. I help them because I build sort of like online businesses. If they've got a skill, I can get them online and build courses for them so that people can run through drip campaigns and get all the payment checkouts. And that creates there's automated stuff in that. There's processes and stuff that you can build out and do management processes and stuff through another software that I use. But it's not enough, for like the whole thing has to be put together, doesn't it, to keep that consistency? And I'm not doing it enough, and yet I'm more so than others, if that makes sense.
Correct. Well, life takes over, and this is the thing. People on and I keep coming back to Tony's thing because it's live. It's actually there now. Yeah. People go on it and they come back and they get onto this 10-day challenge. Yeah. You can do something for 10 days. You can even do it for 2 or 3 months. But unless you've got the system, unless you've got the thing in place, life will take over at some stage. No matter how good you are coming out of that event or coming out of anything else that you've done, listening to this podcast or listening to or reading the book that's going to give you whatever it is, whatever book that might be.
Yeah.
When you come out of it, you get all excited. You think you're going to build it in. You
the
have
great high.
set out. And no matter what your intentions are, unless you have a system to make sure you're coming back to it, something will take over. One of the kids will get sick. Something will happen at work. There'll be something that takes you off track. Yeah. And that's fine. You can go off track. But the problem is that we then stay off track.
Yeah.
If you've got a system, and that's specifically why I built this software, is so that you can go off track and then you know exactly what to do to come back. And I was last year at the end of UPW, I started to work with people who were coming out of UPW. They'd even got Tony's coaches, but I was working with them on the consistency to make sure they're building things in.
Yeah.
Because unless you've got a system that helps you to do that, it isn't that you don't want to, and it isn't that you're lazy, and it isn't that you've not got great intentions. It's just that stuff takes over and other things become more important than those things that actually were actually the most important things.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's funny you say about Tony Robbins, because I'm going to be getting Reggie Bates. He was his main number 2 for a long time. When he did all these gigs, says it was growing quite big. So he should be coming on Mic Drops as well very soon. It's nailing them down the time to fit in with all of us, because again, it's time. Even the thing is, the bigger you get, the more work you you got to do. But even if you didn't have a lot of work, just being famous, I guess, for instance, it's harder to say yes to everything as well. They've got to learn to say no more, because their time is valuable. I mean, what have we got? 160 odd hours a week? Is it 168 hours? Yeah, hours a week. When you think about it, it's not a lot of time. I always, try and scrape extra hours here and there with hardly any sleep at times, and it that still doesn't help, because you're not there in the full capacity that you should be in terms of your mindset. I slur my words a lot because, for the 7 years since my son's been disabled, we literally had forced upon us hardly any sleep, if that makes sense, like 4 hours max. I know people do that and they're entrepreneurial, and they're doing that because they're entrepreneurial, not because of any adversity in their life, but they'll have catch-up sleeps or sleeps in the day and so on. And for me, the key thing is to actually be extremely consistent, but actually be extremely committed. So you've been consistent, but you've been committed. Your life challenge is pretty damn awesome. That's hard to do. I mean, you went across the whole of America, didn't you, pretty much? And I remember you starting from there, literally.
That's where we started.
Yeah. And it was like, I was questioning, can you do that? Because that takes a lot of energy. And sometimes, a lot of the time to even know what to say when you're going live, to be prepared. It's, I mean, you can wing it, obviously, but... Sorry?
Generally do.
Yeah, me too. Oh, well. But I think it's good that you can wing it a little bit, I mean, the thing is, you got a rough idea. But I mean, when I wing it completely, it's obvious because I just slur my words way too much. But, it's more natural as well, But for me, the main thing for me is actually it's the mindset, and it's the being in the right place. And I was speaking to someone recently about, feeling down, depressed, anxiety and stress, and all this stuff can be cured, I know, through being consistent and being committed, right? And it could be in health, it could be in business, being organized. All this stuff helps, and it's really understated, but it's hard to get started,
Yeah. And standards follow standards. When you set yourself a high standard for something, just for anything, and that's what you're going to be. You're going to be the very best at that little thing, whatever that is, whether that be exercising every day or doing these Facebook Lives every day for myself or something else for someone else.
Yeah.
Other things follow it, because you can't be, it's like you said before, I think, Michael, T.R. Becker, how you do everything, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the point: when you start to raise your standards in a certain area, other standards start to follow, and it doesn't all happen all at once. And
No.
you do have to be committed, and it is very much about commitment.
But it's a balance, isn't it, though? There's a balance, because, like, you're right, you've got to raise your standards, but then you've got to make shit happen as well. And if you don't start, you won't start. So I think you got to have that balance, that easy route to entry, and then you build up that sort of like that more sort of like the level of standard and stuff that where you better yourself as such.
I call it power consistency.
That's right. Yeah, I remember you right. Yeah.
It comes in 3 stages. And it starts with consistency. No matter how little you want to do of it, just get yourself to be consistent. If it's exercise, go walking for 15 minutes twice a week or something. Just do something and be super consistent over that amount. Then you increase your duration. So you go first consistency, then you go duration. So then you start to increase the number of minutes from 15 to 20 to 30 to 40, whatever it is. And the number of days. So from 2 days to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, maybe to 7. Who knows? You don't necessarily have to do 7, but
Yeah.
And then once you've got the consistency at the higher duration, then you can hit the intensity. The problem that I think most people have certainly with exercise routines is they think they've got to go intense straight away.
Yeah.
Go straight in it, 100%, boom, boom, boom. And none of us want to hurt ourselves, do we? You're not going to keep coming back to it. So if you can just build that intensity in at a later stage, and it doesn't have to be 100% intensity all the time. I do say, if you're trying to do something once a week for 7 days, then only one day needs to be at that level of intensity.
Yeah.
Got your consistency. So consistency, duration, intensity is a fantastic way to approach all of this.
Yeah, you're right. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Tim Ferriss, actually, in probably in the book Tools of Titans. But they talked about doing consistency and making things habitual. And one of them was, when things are difficult, the way they started, and they did it for a long time, but they just do one press up at night and one press up in the morning until it became a habit. And there was no excuse, because that became a consistent thing, and the body, the mind got used to just doing that. And then after it got used to doing it and it became a routine, they added a couple more, and then a couple more, and then before you know it, they really are truly it's become second nature to them, and it's become habitual. I thought that's quite interesting, because a lot of people think, oh, what's the point? What's the point? But it's actually rewiring the brain. And I think that's probably the route I need to go down a bit as well, to be fair. Not just one press up, but to just do something and keep at it, and not feel guilty it was hardly anything, and not feel guilty that you're in a group with lots of people showing their muscles, and look at these, and that's good for them, but everyone's at different levels and different speeds, and it's about not beating yourself up about it and moving forward. So I quite like that. I've got to remember who it's from, and if anyone's interested, I'll let you know, but I'm pretty sure it's Tim Ferriss again. Someone like that. Anyway,
get on the software. We'll get on the software in this next couple of days, and then we'll come back and do another one of these in a couple of months' time, when you actually got that routine.
That's accountability. That's proper accountability. Yeah, you're right. Actually, we'll do that. All right, guys, whoever's watching, replay as well. We'll do that. We'll follow it through properly with the software, and we'll come back in 3 months' time. Yeah? How's that? Yeah, we'll do that. And anybody else, seriously, grab his book, Carl's book. It's really great. I definitely think you need to be on it. He's a really great guy, Carl is. He's got a lot of experience. We didn't even really touch on the full experience that you've got. It's crazy amounts what you've been through in your life. I mean, do you want to tell us about how you got into finance, and you started off, obviously at some point in your life you thought, right, that's what I want to do. What was it?
No, that's not quite as exciting a story as I might like to think. It was, I drifted into it. Interestingly, I actually used those words in an interview that I went to with Ernst Young. Somebody said to me, why do you want to join Ernst Young? Or I think it was Ernst Young at the time, whatever they were called at that time, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And they said, why do you want to do it? And I said, like, well, my dad liked finance. I kind of drifted into it. And I didn't get that job, surprisingly. That was kind of what happened. I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't actually want to go to university at the time.
Yeah.
And I decided that I would. And then I decided to be a business thing. But then, whilst initially that was all about just the finance, and it was inside of the profession, it was then the real thing that got me going was when I joined Coach Viala in the internal audit, and we actually got to start to see businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the real thing. And that's why I'm doing this now.
Mm-hmm.
And why I'm still doing some of my finance stuff in kind of different capacities now. But it was that learning to understand businesses and how people get to where they're. And I love it. I love just understanding, like talking to people like yourself about how you're making money, what you're doing, how you're actually applying yourself, what it is that you're doing. Like in your case, you actually marketing your marketing as well, aren't you? So, you know, what do you do to sell yourself? How do you get there? What are the skills that you've learned? Why have you learned them? How have you been consistent? What are the things that have made your business work where other businesses have failed? Because what do they say? 85% of businesses fail in the first year. Largely, I think, because people are coming into them with unformed ideas. So they're not necessarily that the business isn't succeeding. It just never was a business in the first place. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because I don't actually, as a marketer, I don't really push myself out there hardly anything, you know. I mean, I'm not promoting myself like I should, and that's bad on me, but I'm busy working. I actually get a lot of my business through attraction marketing. So people come to me and you know, do one bit of work for someone else, and you know, the word of mouth goes out there. That's great. But now I'm at the point where I'm actually employing people to grow and scale, and you know, literally that's going to have to change. You know, literally I'm going to start pushing a bit more out there. But it's a bit uncomfortable for me, which is why I've hired someone that helps me with, like, Matt Elwell. I'm not a natural salesperson. I'll be honest. I'm not a natural salesperson. And as far as I'm concerned, Matt Elwell's world class, which is why he's coming on the podcast at some point next week or the week after. We've got to confirm it. But he's definitely coming on the podcast because he is an absolute world class closer, I'd say, and a really great guy, bloody funny, naturally funny, and very intelligent, and I love that mix. There's a few people that have got that mix, and it's just like, it's that perfect mentor that you like. I mean, we've got Rob Moore that's got it. It can be extremely funny, and he's highly intelligent. Simon Zucci can be exactly the same. You know, very, very, very funny. You know, witty. We've got Brad Burton. We interviewed him recently. Great guy, you know, down to earth, you know, very funny, but obviously he knows what he's doing and he's created a massive network, you know, and it's amazing when you get that nice mix of you know, not taking yourself too seriously, and yet you can give so much value still, and I like to feel that, you know, if there's anywhere I want to be in life, it's there, no matter how much hardship happens, that we can still kind of like be human and not be robotic, you know, because I think that's what it's really truly about, not to be, I keep saying it, and I've seen more and more people saying it now, they tend to agree with it, about being more yourself, be true to yourself. People wonder what that word is, be true to yourself, but it really is just be natural. I'm not trying to be someone I'm not now. This is how I am, you know me. This is how I am, and I'll be honest when I'm feeling low, because I actually think that's very healthy. A lot of people put a front on. And yes. I don't do it for attention. I do it because, actually, strangely enough, like the internet has become my window to society. So, I mean, if you can imagine, when especially at the beginning, when we had no carers, our lives were literally trapped. And I say trapped because that's pretty much what it was, in our homes, 24/7, looking after severely disabled children, and not sleeping, literally. Especially, it was horrible, like, to see what was going on within the family and the impact it had. And it still hits you to today. But this is why this stuff's really powerful. And it sounds like I've digressed, but I'm not. What I'm talking about is the consistency and being able to control your feelings, your patterns in work, and be able to put something in a process of such that you can actually feel empowered because you're in control in some way. And I think that's what your book does. And I know it does that. And that's what I love about it, because you didn't just write a book and got your name up there and, I'm an author now. I've got my own book. I'm a bestseller author as well, My Beautiful Son, but it's nothing to do with business. But at the same time, you didn't do it for that. You went that step further and you did this tracker software, which says a lot about you and your passion and the expertise that you've got. Because some people write books, I've seen it before, where they'll write books for the sake of writing a book to become an authority figure or something, when you actually have a life experience of it. It's not like you just started this thing and you're just learning, I don't know, Facebook ads or something like that, and then all of a sudden you know what I mean? You literally are the epitome of your book. And it is you, it screams you from your experiences. And you pick things from other areas like all of us have, but actually, have you picked them? Or are you've all found a similar pattern? You know what I mean? It depends how you view it.
Yeah, and it's all about those references, and it's all about those things that you've learned and the references that you've had and what's worked and what hasn't worked. Because, I'll have a whole host of other references that have not gone into the book because those didn't work.
Exactly.
So that's how you take the things that you understand and that you learn, and that then you put them into a style and a structure that might work for someone else. And as long as it works for someone else, when they read that or when they listen to you talk, then you've got somewhere. And I love that. I love that people get something out of the book, because I spent years doing it. I never did. None of this stuff was supposed to be a business. It is now. It's not supposed to be. It was just me studying stuff, scribbling it down on bits of paper, dictating little messages to myself, because I was just loving the learning.
And you did that in your business in many ways, because when you turn these businesses around to multi-million pound businesses, 150 million pound businesses, crazy. But you did that with your company, and it needed that process, that someone with that mind to be able to I don't know how I would explain it, like almost like a bird's eye view of it all, and then piecing up and putting these things together. And, that takes some serious intellect to do that. Because you've got to, I guess, second guess what could happen in those kind of situations. You've got to build the foundations. If there's none there, you've got to rebuild them. You're almost underpinning stuff. And then you're building upon it, scaling, bringing the right teams. And I'm only touching a fraction of it. That's major work to do.
Massive. We're actually turning it in. In fact, I'll show you here. This is a book that I put together about the business when we were 10 years old. So we sold it when we were 12 years old. This is a book we put together when we were 10 years old. Of all the history of the company. And we're turning all of the lessons from that 12 years of going from nothing to turn it into a course.
Well, I can help you there, because I do all the online course stuff. If you ever need anything, give me a shout. But happy to help you. But no, that's absolutely amazing, mate. And I really appreciated you coming on Mic Drops Up Close. I do want to touch with a bit more of a personal personal question. How have you found in life, and I know a lot of people in business would have found this, to be successful in business, it does have a toll, doesn't it? It's like a pendulum. You've got family life, relationship, love, even like, your parents and stuff like that, the time that we spend with them and the time that we spend on business, that we know we're kind of like, in many ways, many of us that are workers, whether you're man or women, the family, the workers that have, or both, but the person that works the most, it's a real hard balancing act, isn't it? Because for all the will of the world, I want to be with my son, who's deemed life limited. Yet I have to do work, and I have to be out there networking as well. And you can't have one without the other. You just can't do it. So how have you found in your life? Has there been a moment where it kind of really hit you, and you had to reevaluate, and it was like, quite painful? Because a lot of businessmen find that moment. I'm just wondering if you've had it.
Yeah, I don't know whether I've had a moment when I felt it. I think that period of time when I was working, and I was 2 hours on the road every day, and working a job that I didn't like. So I'd only got a limited amount of time when I was back home. So that period, that was another one of those things that pushed me over that threshold to go and do something myself. So I'm working from home. I get to see, I mean, my kids are teenagers now. They don't even want to be with me anyway. So they've got their own things that they want to do. But I think the point is that it is back to this balance. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, like I'm trying to sell something, but it was around the software. That is specifically how I manage that balance across all those things. So what are the things in all of those different areas, your health, your financial relationships, emotions, your personal development, even just your life management, even just like the stuff doing chores around the house, they still have to be done. You can outsource certain things, but there's still stuff that you need to do inside of your life. And it's getting that balance. And again, I keep on saying this, unless you've got a system to help you to do that, you'll get caught in one or the other of these things. And for me, if you can create a structure when the chaos isn't there, because a lot of the time, you've got all this chaos going on and you don't know which way to turn. But if you can create a structure of everything that you would ideally do, so I use the terms like I am at my best when, and then those are the things that I put into the system. I am at my best when I spend an hour with Andrew. I'm at my best when me and the kids do this. I'm at my best when I run every day. Those sort of things. Get them into a structure so that you're doing them, and then that balance happens automatically.
Yeah, I like that.
And because otherwise you're fighting for it. And a lot of time I think people think they're out of balance when, it's not necessarily that you're out of balance. It's more that you're focused on the wrong thing. So you're focused on the thing that you're not doing.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn said, wherever you are, be there.
I like that.
And most people are not. And I think that's what makes them feel out of balance. So when you're at work, you're thinking about why you should be at home with the kids. And when you're at home with the kids, you've got a phone call that's a work phone call that takes you away from them. And so you're never actually in the location where you actually should be. And
but you work from home, so do I. So that's quite tricky, isn't it?
I thought that initially, but I actually love it now. And I found I came out of my job and I'd done it for like nearly 3 decades of going into an office. Even though we owned the business, it was still going into an office.
Yeah, absolutely.
People said to me initially, what you want to do is go into your office, close the door, go into your office at 8 o'clock, close the door, come out at 6, and then that's the way you need to run it. I thought, what, that isn't how I want to run this. Because that's just like bringing the office into the house.
Yeah.
What I want to do is to have that 168 hours at my disposal. So, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but and when I first came out, I'd go down if I went down to the shop at like 11 o'clock in the morning, I'd feel guilty. I'm only working for myself, so I don't know who I'm feeling guilty towards. I'd be feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Whereas the reality is that you've got 168 hours. Today it's Sunday at 9 o'clock or whatever it is, and we're doing this.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It is. It's fantastic because you get that choice, and I can be watching one of the kids play lacrosse or rugby or whatever on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
And I can be working at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night, like I was last night. I think it was about 3 o'clock when I went to bed. But this is the point. You get the choice over doing that. I have one guy who works for me, technical director, who works for me around the software and some other stuff that we do around IT support.
Yeah.
He works for me. He's a full-time employee, but he has I don't give him. He hasn't got any hours. Just does a job. He works from home. He's in Northern Ireland. I don't get to see him very often, but it's just like, do the job. I don't. There's no set hours. There's no set work. But he knows what he needs to do, and I get to trust that he's going to do it. And in the middle of the afternoon, I might ring him up, and he might be out somewhere. That doesn't matter to me because I know that I could ring him up when we finish this call and say, "Look, Darren, I need you to have a look at this," and he'll do it.
Yeah.
It's about getting that flexibility around it. It is hard to work from home sometimes because there are so many distractions. But once you get your head into the 168-hour period, and you're going to do it when you're going to do it, and you get yourself focused for 90 minutes and then you go off and do something else, that is when it really starts working for you, because then you can do it from anywhere.
Yeah, no,
you're
right.
To be at home. You don't have to be in the office. You can be on a beach. You can be wherever you want to be.
I mean, it's very hard when you're pulled, and I'll say pulled, from things you can't control. And like before my past life, I could control a certain amount of stuff, and most people can. 90% of their, if they don't want to go to work because they're ill, they don't go to work because they're ill. If they have to go to work, even when they're ill, they have to go to work. They've got some sort of control. They can choose. But the thing is, this when you've got like many instances like appointments, severe important, really important ones for like disabled children and so on. Or something random happens, like something's happened to him. You got to go rush to hospital. And you've got something planned. That all goes out the window, and that can throw your consistency and any calendars out big time. I've even I've attended like in the past, not so much now. Things are a lot more calmer, touch wood. But in the past, there's been things where I've gone to training, for instance, better my education in certain areas in my life, and it's something I really believe in, to keep on growing, to keep on learning. Completely alien to me when I was a young kid, because I was like in the low sets and really, I dyslexic and everything. But like, I love it. I love learning. It's almost like, it's just crazy. But the reality is, these things throw you off. It don't matter how much money you put down, or how much commitment you put down, and they throw you completely off. Again, what you said earlier really, really resonated, in the sense that you said, well, when you got these processes, you can pick them up. And I think the key thing here is going into the right moment to where you were and picking it up at the right place. I think that's the key thing. It's not about the distraction. It's the way, the processes and system that you've created within your book and your tools that allows you to go in there at the right time and refocus quite quickly, rather than that sort of haziness and your head's gone. Yeah.
Precisely. That's absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
That when you set something up so that you've got a system, it doesn't mean you've got to become a slave to it. It means that it's there to help you. It's there to support you. The software is a tool. It's a tool to help you to do stuff. If it doesn't, if you become a slave to it, then you're using it incorrectly.
Yeah.
You need to use it as a tool to help you, so that when you get pulled off track, because it's a matter of this balance between flexibility and discipline. You be disciplined as much as you can, but you've got to be flexible. If something happens, and your situation is quite severe, I know, and you manage it. I'm sure you manage it a lot better than sometimes it probably feels.
Yeah, I know I do, because I've done extremely well considering situations that have happened, and I've dealt with many life issues, and some I've gone through it. But you're right. The issue is that I don't feel I'm doing it enough. Yet you're right. If I was coming into this from the beginning, and this just happened to us, where I am now and how I deal with things now, even with my ups and downs, and they're very common. I was speaking again to Tony V and Nikki V, actually, Nick James's parents, and they're really, really great people. They're big followers of Tony Robbins, and they've trained under them, and they've got their master coach, business. And those guys are really good at getting, deep down into your head, and helping you clear your mind, and there was a lot of truth in what Nikki was saying to me recently. And she was saying, a lot of the problems that you have, and it's hard to say this, can be just your own feelings that can help manifest these things. And I knew exactly what she was on about, because I believe in all that, that high vibrational stuff. I've got a very good friend, Vicky Thomas, actually. She's really into the high vibrational stuff. And there's a lovely lady called Nav Tohan, Simon Zucchi's partner, actually. And they're into the high vibrational stuff. And a lot of people think this is all, fluffy stuff, and I used to think that years and years ago. But I think as you grow and you start, I say searching for things, you start looking at things you wouldn't have looked at before. I don't know if you'd agree with that. And then when you try these different things and you start, using these different techniques and trying to look at things with a different perspective, they can really, really help. But that's not to say you can have days like I had today, and I'm a different person now at this time. But in the morning, two friends literally passed away. Literally, one's very young in his 20s, and one's in a I think she was in her late 40s, and it's shocking. You know, it's absolutely shocking. And it's like there was that. Then obviously my children's situation, and I just felt really crappy, really crappy. And it's hard to feel good about life when there's so much sort of like pain and noise coming at you. It doesn't have to be, and this can happen in anything. It could be property investing. You get really crappy builders and they start screwing you around. You know, I've had that. You know what I mean? It could be your own health. I've had that. Cancer scares a lot, literally. My wife, everything. And we've gone through it, literally. And to really find a way to kind of like keep on track and grab a hold of the situation, it's been very, very hard. But you're right. I've never really truly appreciated how well I'm dealing with it now, even when I feel crap and I feel like I'm not dealing with it. Yeah. And I put a post or something about, and this is very personal. I mean, I should be interviewing you, but it's I know it benefit the audience.
Yeah.
There's truth. There's a lot of truth in that, and I've mentioned it in one of the videos done before. Like the incremental steps that you make become, you look back, they become leaps. They're not steps, they're leaps, and you don't realize it. And even though I know it, and I've said it now, but help people in that way, it's very easy to slip out of that mindset and not realize how far you've come. So what you've said is very true.
And then pick your book up as well. Pick your book up.
Yeah.
Just remind yourself.
I know, dyslexic, I wrote that, you know, international bestseller. I know you're right. You're right. And I take it for granted. And I don't, you know, I give a lot of these away for free because I know it can help people. And people think, you're mad. Why are you giving it for free? I've spent money getting these printed and built up. And I give them, when I do talks, I generally give them free, like, you know, 20 a time or something like that. And I give them truly free, not, you know, free and postage paid, you know, slightly higher rate and so on. I give them free. And the reason being is because the greater good. Someone will read that book and they'll get the awareness of what happened to my son, because my son was born healthy and this can happen to any child. So for me, the power and the money, the wealth that I get from that is from other people being educated from it. And learning. And it does literally say it on front cover, embrace your pain, or it's actually embrace your struggle to find your strength. And I think there's a lot that we can all learn from that, including myself. I need to reevaluate it and go back to it. But you can get trapped. That's the real thing that a lot of us get into. You can get trapped. And I there are times when I do feel sorry for myself. I'm like, blimey, my life is a movie. And it's like Die Hard constantly going on. Honestly, I've got the bald head and everything. You know, I just haven't got the physique for it yet. But it really is crazy how constant. Honestly, I just can't get over. But then no one promised me anything smooth, and yet, you know, all our lives really, I probably had it smooth, and this is just a big it all rolled up in one, you know. Strangely, I think that's where the pain comes in, because, like, you know, really had it good, and we had no disability in our families, you know, never known anything like it, you know. And you know, we see people and we felt sorry for them, but you don't think it's going to happen to you. And that's what I want people to realize. I know people might feel sorry for you, and they see your child disabled and so on, and then they'll go about their business and then they forget about you, which is the right way to be, because no one can live in that pain and that sorrow and sadness. And I expect that. But when you're living in it daily, it's painful, you know, daily. Like, you see your son, like, it's really painful, and your daughter, it's painful. And so I just want people to be aware. So, like, you know, your book really does span a lot of areas. It spans a lot of areas, and it covers, it's almost got like, it's got the tentacles of knowledge in your book really do help support many areas. And we're touching about my life and, you know, the adversities and stuff like that. And we touched on business. and we touched on health in terms of like, keeping fit, and all of it on your habits and the 5 pillars are all interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people don't realize that, and not just your book, other people's books as well. There's but people don't realize how these things interconnect. But your book specifically, because you've got a lot behind it, a lot of love, a lot of power, a lot of education in it, and you put a lot of effort into that. Like you said, it's your life's work, really, 30 plus years, and you put software to it. Who does that? You don't get Tim Ferriss doing that. You know what I mean? These massive authors. So I, for one, want to say, firstly, thank you, Carl Pate, for your book. I left you an amazing 5-star review because I think it's a really great book. And I really genuinely think, guys, I didn't come on here to promote Carl's book. He's already got bestseller and he's already out there and that. But I mean, genuinely, just check out his book. It's £4 if you're into books and you want to check out another great one. There's a great guy here who's building a huge legacy and doing great things for many people, including myself. I just want to say, would you like to say a few more words before we part and say thank you for coming to Mic Drops? Yeah, no,
thank you for having me on here. I love talking about this stuff because I think it is so powerful and it's so important. And it's all about, for me, this whole thing is all about not getting to the end of your life and having regrets about the things that you didn't do because of the time that you think you didn't have. We talked about 168 hours and how it isn't enough, but it's exactly the same amount of time that everyone's got, no matter how much they're doing. It's about how we use that time rather than the fact that we want to have more of it. We can't have more of it. You get exactly the same number of hours in the week as everybody else, and how we use that, and so that we don't get to the end and have all of those regrets, because that would be the worst thing of all, to be on your deathbed thinking, if only I'd just made that phone call, or if only I'd just picked that up, or I really didn't like my job, but I could have got out at that stage and then I didn't. Those things are the things that you're going to really regret at the end of your life, and you shouldn't be there. My brother-in-law very, very sadly passed about a month ago.
Sorry about that.
He was only 47.
Wow.
And, but he actually literally went out doing what he loved. So he'd given up his job, and he was doing his comic book art, and he was actually at a movie theater doing his comic book art when he died. And so for me, I now use that at the end of all of my Facebook lives, which is do what you love and go out doing it. Yeah, you're right. And I think I found myself starting that way and then losing track of it, which is probably why I'm feeling more lost and upset and down. And things like this mic drop interview, I've loved it, Carl. Honestly, I've actually I had Neil Patel, one of the best marketers in the world, literally on Forbes. It was only a half an hour one. Love it. I'm a great fan of his. But I can honestly say this interview with you has been one of my most favorite out of all my mic drops so far, because it really connects. And I know the power of what your book, you as a person, are an absolutely amazing guy. You got such a great, aura about you. I can't put my finger on it. You really are such a very decent person, and I love connecting with people that have got genuine, great, humble hearts, and you're definitely one of those. And I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming to Mic Drops up close. And I want to say thank you from the audience as well, because I know everyone watching this, even on replay, if you liked it, please subscribe to Mic Drops up close. Put a review on it. Be honest. It's not going to be edited. We're not using top mics and stuff like this. It's Zoom, for goodness sake. but it's the quality of the conversation that you have in it, and it's the flow of it. It's not robotic, and that's the key. So having great guests like Carl is what makes, for me, a great interview. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Really appreciate it. Brilliant. And thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me on. I've really, really loved it. It's been a great interview. And anytime you want me back on. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to get on your life tracker, and so we're going to get onto the software and get restarted there, because honestly, guys, it's really great stuff. Really great book. Take care. All the best. Bye from Mic Drops. Take care. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.